Welcome back to the Koori Knockout podcast for another week. As we mentioned last week, if this is your first time tuning in, we're just a bunch of fellas who love talking about the knockout, talk about the knockout 24/7, and we thought we'd capture some of these yarns to be able to share with everyone. I've got Dylan Farrell, the great Dylan Farrell here today. Tommy Tucker's back again, and of course Dean Widders here for the Koori Knockout podcast episode 2. So, look, we want to roll into a little bit of news at the moment. I'll pass across to Dean here for this one.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit of sad news, Georgie. The passing of Farrell, who's notorious around the knockouts for what he did playing for, all different teams there, and he touched a lot of people out there in the Koori Knockout world, I suppose, amongst all our mob out there. So we send our condolences to the family and pay our respects to him, and he'll be long remembered for his feats on the football field, but I think for the friendships he made for the knockout team. So all the boys out there that are struggling, we're just sending our love out to the boys and our respects to Farrell and his family.
I think that friendships is a real important one. One thing that I've noticed over the last week or so is, everyone's sharing the old videos of him, and he was one person that everyone got along with. I don't think you find too many people that didn't get along with him, even on the field. One of the toughest competitors, one of the most talented people I've ever played against. I still think about the Burke game down the South Coast, and I come on the field and he chopped me 3 times in a row. Like he was unbelievable. It was unbelievable for Burke, and one of the great knockout players.
Pretty tough guy. I seen him from the word go to kick off. He hit one of the boys, and you seen him just do that in his stride, and he was like running back. Just anyone wants to come near me, that's what it's going to be. So he kept a few boys on notice. I reckon a few of them would have probably ran left or right on him. I would have.
Oh, 100%. Look, and as Dean said, we pass on our condolences to the family and friends, and grateful for the memories we got to share with him. All right, moving on. We got Dylan Farrell here with us today. Dillo, welcome to the Knockout podcast, bro.
Thanks for having me, bro. I'm pretty stoked on the early days too. Kick us off and tell some yarns.
Got him up early this morning, Dill? Early wake up. But, bros, I've seen you play for the South Coast with as much passion as what we play for our hometowns and stuff like that. What's the knockout mean to you? What's it all about?
Yeah, look, it's hard to put into words, as you all know. It's just that one time of the year that it's marked on my calendar, It's I'd miss birthdays and Christmases and whatnot, but the knockout's one thing I try not miss. A couple of years ago, one of my good mates actually had a wedding for the knockout weekend. It's the same year we actually won it, and I contacted him straight away and got into him about it, and he was like, "It's just one weekend, it's just 1 year, blah blah blah." And I said, "Brother, I'm going to have to go up, sign on, go back down, come back up." And
you can't do that, eh?
Yeah, well, luckily for me, they didn't end up going ahead with it, and it was the year we won. So would have been a bit of a mess if I had to do all that, but yeah, I was into him about it.
There's a warning to everyone. You can't book knockouts, birthdays, holidays, nothing. It's our sister's birthday on knockout weekend every year, but she knows that she gets to celebrate for the week around it, because you can't. Knockout weekend is knockout weekend.
My nephew, same thing, birthday on the same knockout weekend, but he forgoes it. He knows he'll get his celebration once his team's beaten.
First played in 2008, and I haven't missed one since. There was a few years there where I had sort of off-season surgery when I was still playing NRL, but I still didn't miss it. I was always out there every year. I have not missed one, so but I can't see myself missing one anytime soon.
I'm thinking back now that 2008 could have been Kingscliff. He was that little young fella in the centres out there. Might have been playing against someone next to me in the grand final. Yeah. So there was 2 big sides.
Sorry, Dill, in your day there, bro. But
first experience.
He was elusive young man. He was fast.
I watched that final. That was, bro. You were straight up and down. You're a little whippet.
Yeah, I was.
Were you wearing shoulder pads?
Yeah. No.
Him and Wiley, man. No, Wiley was there too.
Yeah,
Wiley was a bit smaller then, and then a couple of years later, they big, ferocious, aggressive centres.
Wiley, he would have been fresh 18, and he was playing outside Brother Poss, Richie Williams.
Well, they called him a different name on that day. I remember he had a couple of different names.
His name's Brad Manton.
Oh, well, they were getting... anyway, I thought I seen a bit on the commentary there where they was calling something else, and I'm thinking, is this the same guy? Because he kept popping up year after year, and he was this winger that just... no one could handle his...
Well, we had 2... Wiley was on one wing, Brad Manton, and we had Troy Manton on the other.
Oh, well, there you go.
they got the names.
They weren't twins.
No, they weren't twins, just older cousin, but yeah, they might have just got the names mixed up.
That's
yeah,
all.
Tell us about that association too, the South Coast and La Perouse.
Yeah,
There's so
so-
many good players that play for both sides.
Look, I think to be honest, my first knockout with South Coast was 2019, and coming through as a young fella, pretty sadly, it was always politics getting involved with the people from down the coast. You know, it's a big region, and it's hard trying to get people to sort of put the egos in their back pocket and get a team, a good team to represent the area. You know, there's a lot of talented footballers there, but I just feel like politics gets in the way a lot. I feel like it's pretty similar for the Kempsey region. You know, I feel like if they got sort of put an ego in the back pocket as well and pick the sort of one side, they'd have a really good side. But just growing up, I didn't really have it down there like the one team to sort of look forward to. Each year there was like a different South Coast team in the knockout. Whereas here was always La Perouse, and obviously I've got ties to the La Perouse community. My family goes back to the Amatos, so always had the ties there. Like a lot of people down the coast, if you're not related to someone from Wreck Bay or down at Walliga or down at Geringer where I'm from, then you'll know someone that's pretty close. But yeah, I was up here, I was playing with South at the time. Training was just 2 minutes away. I had my cousins come up and play that year as well, so it just made sense obviously to play with Lapa. It's a prestigious club, and I've had many uncles and relatives play with them in the past, men and women. So yeah, that was always going to be the thing. But yeah, I just think politics probably gets the best of down home.
Who makes the call? Because sometimes you're playing in a South Coast team and you're playing Lapa. Are you the leading man down there, or who's the one who switches
One in all in or what?
I think it's it's a generational torch that gets passed. I feel like the first year I was with La Perouse, I followed my cousins at Dan Deves, and obviously Richie Williams and that were playing there. And
What a player.
Some players, the Deves
so
boys and Richie Williams.
Yeah.
I want to talk about him.
Yeah, so I just sort of followed those fellas, and then the 2018 was my first year back. I think from 2009, I had like a massive break. Like I said, I kept having surgeries, and I retired from me back. And then 2018, I brought a few of the boys with me to Lapa. So I kind of brought them with me there, like Ryan James and
What a player.
and then we ended up making the final that year as well. We're up 18-0. Then NAV come back and they just experience took over in the end. They beat us 19-18. So that one hurt. And then
first time,
a few days before that knockout, it was actually, we had the sad news of passing on my cousin James Wello, and basically we sort of knew from there, he loved his knockouts. We basically knew next year we'll be South Coast in memory of him, and basically what happened, yeah.
He was a good bloke, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was a good fighter. Just pretty similar to what you said before. He's on field he did one thing, but it was off field where people probably most remember him.
Well, I met him sort of.
He won a few knockouts too, James. Because I remember him and Benny playing with in Nambucca at one stage on the young, and then they played with Redfern.
So they actually beat Lapa for Nambucca. I think it might have been 98 maybe. And then they won, I think, 2 or 3 in a row with Redfern.
He also told me that I remember he played in Bathurst with that Yilmanaro team. Must have been one of the biggest crowds I've ever heard. I've said that about a lot of crowds, but I think it's just the south and north coast, they just bring crowds. And he said, I played, and he told me, he said he never even sat 1 minute on the bench. So, the big fella, he strapped him up and he just kept going all game. And I tell you what, that was a good side too.
Yeah, it was a good side. And one thing with the South Coast is we're probably never ever short on backs. We probably struggle a little bit in the middle. So that's probably why I had to play so many minutes.
Is that South Coast or just blackfellas in general?
Probably blackfellas in general. I feel like if you're not linked up with teams that are involved in some sort of system, it can be pretty hard to get experience forward. So
Otherwise, you've got to rely on centres who put on a little bit of weight and end up in the...
Well, how many full games have you played as a front row? I know I was getting put through full games and everything like that as a front row while the wingers are replacing each other.
Yeah, I don't like that. So that's what I don't like. When wingers are getting subbed off and the forwards out there doing it, wingers can't get subbed off.
Well, that's shame when you're a winger and you get subbed off. I've been done a few times, all right. But I reckon only fella who took my spot was Ricky Walford, so I was pretty happy.
That's fair.
But I remember putting on the 10 and that in later on in his career, and the young fella can't play front row this year, Dino. You'll have to jump up and just guide him around, eh? Oh. And he's like, oh, geez, I may as well jeopardise his snout again.
Always got to wear that front row, and then no one wants to come and replace you. There's always skinny on replacements in there.
How many times have you walked off the field and then someone's put their hand up and said, come on, who's on? And then you look at you. Young fellas are like, I'm not going on there. Back on, Dino.
Too often, right? Too often.
Brings the
Even
best.
in my old age, they still do it.
Brings the best out of you.
I think you'll find it in the teams that are sort of coming there just purely just to have a run. I feel like you'll find that a bit more. When you're sort of, in the decent teams that are sort of got a goal to work to the Monday and a realistic goal to get to the Monday. Sure, it doesn't happen too much when you work at your buddy systems and whatnot. But yeah, like you said before, I don't think our wingers. I don't know if we had bench wingers back the year we won it, but they're only coming off if they get hooked.
Well, I reckon
they should be staying in the whole game.
Well, I reckon when you're talking about those politics in those South Coast teams or Lapa teams, and I think when it gets to the 13, no one wants to wear 14 down to 25, but it's just we always say it's just as important. They do a job. They need to go on.
They're the ones that win a knockout for you.
You know, you got Joel Thompson coming off. You got someone just as good going on, well, probably not as good, but can just handle that pressure and maintain that, you know, that speed and intensity. You know, there's plenty of them fellas there, but their pride get in the way. And
the pride.
And I know there's a few sides there, Moree, and like you said, they all split up between Blacktown and Moree, that one year in Bathurst. And, yeah, you probably know a bit about players not want to wear that number 14 onwards.
Well, it can split your whole team. We only got to go to Kempsey and you hear about once one fellow misses out on the starting team, or it's happening in Armidale too, then half your team goes with them, then they go and play for someone else because they'd rather wear 7 playing for a weaker team than wear 14 or 20 to 25.
Well, I just got one more. We was in Bathurst there, and we were going down to Armidale Knockout 2000, the one where you played Yowies in the grand final. So we had Barbara and a few other fellas in our team, and I took the team sheet that we wrote out and I took it to the toilet, and I was reading it while I was on the toilet. And then we had a couple of them fellas come over and visit. Next minute, they didn't turn up because some of them had seen their name on the list. Matt reckons, you see, he's seen that number 14, he never come. Barbara and I, mate, would have turned up just because of you anyway.
That's crazy. The politics for me has probably not been too much the team. We've always had a sort of like establish a pretty good leadership group before we started. It's just more the people that want to run it or want to be coached.
Community.
The community.
Politics.
It's all that sort of thing. You know, what sponsorship to get and whatnot. But it's always been the trickiest
tough
part.
one. We're talking about it earlier, but who's your experiences? You've been in a lot of successful teams with Laperouse and won it with the South Coast. Who's the players, the 3 players that your knockout team's got to have them in your team? Who are they?
If I had to pick 3,
right. That you don't go the knockout with.
Yeah, well, see, there's obviously one who I looked up to massively and think if he didn't get such a serious injury, he'd go down as one of the best ever. And he still probably could, is Richie Williams.
Yep.
He obviously done his Achilles a few years ago now, hasn't played since, but...
That's that smart half.
Yeah,
and
he's smart
attacking.
and
he was
tough as well.
Brilliant, brilliant player.
It was just everything you needed in a footballer, you know.
He could play that fella.
Could kick as well. Like, it was just throw him in the centres, throw him in the lock if you need to, throw him in the halves. But he was a gun. Another young fella sort of coming through now, and I've said it since seeing him on the scene. If any team I want to take him with me is young Jade Anderson. So he's from Laperouse. He's a Lions. So obviously strong blood.
He looks like them fellas.
Yeah, West. Yeah, they can all play, can't they? And he just every year just seems to.
He gets better every year, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Though that's what spins me out. Like when he come on the scene, he was this fast little kid. And then he's just getting stronger. Now defensively he's strong. Like everything, he's got the complete game now, Jade. He's one of them fellas that you really don't want to have to come up against.
Richie Williams, I played Richie Williams in one of his first knockouts, and I couldn't believe how talented he was, how good he was.
Unbelievable. At a young age too, eh?
He would spin. He would just run, spin on a dime, in, out. If he's 10 metres out with no momentum, you could score a try from anywhere. Just had that inside step, and he just knew how to find that hole. And
well, the year that these fellas beat us in the final, I think 2008, like I said, we were a pretty young side, and like I said, I didn't really know too much about. Like, it was my first men's knockout, you know, and I didn't.
How old were you?
17.
17.
I didn't really know. I didn't get involved in all the yarns and whatnot, you know. I just rocked up the train. For me, it was a bit of fun. Not till I got up there, till I realised everybody was writing us off because we were a really young side. I was one of 3 17-year-olds, and then there was a few 18-year-olds, and then I just remember that was the first time I got to watch Poss in my team, obviously, and he just the whole weekend, him and Wiley. Wiley just got dished short ball after short ball, just putting the ball down. He just would break tackles, like I said, he'd make something out of nothing, and I was just sitting back watching from the sideline because I started on the bench each game, and then I would come on to the left centre, and I was just sitting back watching in awe.
Nice. I remember I hit Wiley with a good long ball too in that. 90 metres the other way. Yeah. But and so Jade Anderson, Richie Williams, who's the other one?
The last one, tricky one. I was sort of trying to think of people from other teams. If I could pick someone from another team, and obviously this is a bit of a no-brainer, but I'm just watching Cody Walker. I was trying to. I had a beer with him end of last year, and I know his mother, God bless us, from down the coast, you know. So I was trying to
drag him that way.
And say that I'd love to try, and I pretty much said I'll give you a year up there. If you,
we don't miss opportunities, do we? When it comes to knockout, if we can slip it in
scrape
there,
that little bit.
we can get you pull you this way.
To be fair, the older brother actually hit me up. His older brother actually hit me up and said that he wants to do it, for his mum, and I was like, yeah.
That would be nice.
This would be a good
So we could be back down the South Coast again soon if Cody and Ryan and...
Tell you what, if him and Ryan, I mean, talking about the 2011 knockout before, Minda Rib had some good players in their team, but Cody and Ryan, they were just...
Cody Walker, when he first came on in the knockout scene playing at halfback, no one sort of knew who he was, 19-year-old kid, and he was just going left, right, bang, Ryan, all these fast fellas coming off him. Like, you couldn't stop that with his knowledge and their forward pack.
Their depth got South Coast in the end in the pack.
Yeah, well, South Coast was probably just running on just full talent. Where your bench was sort of just made up of your town team.
There's a couple of good fellas there.
They were good.
Yeah, they weren't up to that level. And he's one that I didn't really speak of him before because he'd only the South Coast haven't been fortunate enough to be in enough. But being biased to the South Coast, well, not even being biased to the South Coast. Sorry, he's probably one of the most naturally gifted footballers I've ever seen. Like. And I think even Poss would agree he's probably got more natural ability than him,
That try that Aaron Briley scored for Ewan, where he palmed with both hands and he grubber kicked and...
Yeah. No, he actually set up the fullback.
The pass with the left hand, that's right, he passed with his left hand.
Changed the ball 3-4 times.
It's like
he can kick off both feet. He's a freak.
He was unbelievable. He come and did pre-season at Parramatta when I was at the Eels. He come out there and did a pre-season. I remember saying to Brian Smith, I hope he stays. We've got to keep him here because we turned this fella into a freakish footballer. So he's one of the most gifted, strongest, toughest players I've seen. And it was probably all natural, eh?
Yeah, man, 100%. He's a diver. He just diving, you know.
I feel like he's gone.
Probably never seen a gym in his life, but he just like I said, naturally a big fella. Honestly, I've never seen as much skill. Left to right passing, left to right kicking. Could tackle too, could put a shot on, and his offload he's like a halfback in a front rower's body, you know, but like fit when he is fit, you know. I think the great late Arthur Beetson had him up at Roosters a couple of times as well, and I think he just sort of got it, missing home. And back then, no highway upgrades, so it's a long way to go back down. Long way to go back home there. So
it's a shame it didn't work out though, because you could see him being like a Jamie Lyon type player. Jamie Lyon was that type of player, but he went on to have a decade-long career and.
How big was the lad's shoulders, eh? He's standing and he'd have these big broad shoulders.
Yeah, well, we brought him back for the... we had... someone pulled out late, I think, for the year we won the knockout, and then ended up getting on to... Fathead, his nickname is, ended up getting on to Aaron, and he ended up coming up, and I was stoked. I don't even know if he'd played comp for a couple of years or whatnot. He sort of went a bit quiet on the scene there, but come up, and he pretty much played front row on that for us. It was just to have him in the side, but he probably didn't even realise himself that blokes like myself... obviously, hey, bro, you're going to have a yarn, but he wouldn't have known how much I actually, loved watching him play as a player,
I feel like even just playing that one knockout in Bathurst, that it's just one knockout, but a lot of people remembered him because you don't see that talent.
No, well, that's the thing. If politics wasn't a thing and South Coast could get a good side, we'd be talking about him.
Probably only seen him play again with Ewan after that, probably in Raymond Terrace.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen him play many others after that, and I was just sort of aching because we're knockout lovers. We want to see them fellas come every week. I always want to see the Dennis, the Dinos. I don't want these fellas to retire.
I want us to retire.
you don't get these fellas. We don't get these type of knockout players. Trenny and George, and how George used to play full game when he was, in the grand final when they're down and out. They're 38 degrees. I think it might have been in Raymond Terrace that year, and they played Newcastle. You don't get them fellas,
It's the same as NRL. You have your generational players and you have your generational players at the knockout as well. And like you said, there's blokes for 20 years you've been fans of. Yeah.
Who's the Walgett three, Georgie? You play with some good players over the years. You've seen some good sides.
That's even
back. But who wouldn't you go with there? Who do you love to have with you? Because for me, obviously Dennis is the first player I want beside me all the time if he's there. And I like a little halfback too.
I like Mickey Moran. He was a good halfback and a knockout man.
Moore and Mick Clary. They're the two that I won't go without.
Matty Pittman.
Oh, yeah. You always love another good.
Well, I only seen him late in the piece, Matty. I only seen him from 2008.
He come on late. Pity.
Was he Super League or something?
No, he was sort of just coming through the grades he was played in the second side for Narwhal a few times. Can you believe that? And next minute, when we put him in the first side, he really proved himself.
Well, that Kingscliff, he turned up, didn't he? And he was a force from there. Yeah. George and him went hard.
Kieran Vale too. I always believe you got to have a tough back.
He was unbelievable.
Tough back.
Kieran
Vale, one of my favourites.
I still see him at the knockouts, and sometimes I see him with the bench number on. I'm going and they're pulling him off, and I said, leave that guy on. He's so strong in attack.
The amount of work he does, I just can't get over. The Robinson brothers are the same too.
Yeah.
That same work ethic.
I reckon Reece is one of the most underrated knockout players.
Yeah, it's a brilliant footballer.
Redfern, when they won it, if he doesn't play, I don't reckon they win.
They win the knockouts from running from Dumby Afton, fellas.
Yes,
They just, on that last day, the amount of yards they get, and Kieran Vale's a bit the same. They just chew that much metres for you and get in there and take all the tough runs.
Yeah, doing all the forwards.
If I can ask, I've never tackled them. What's it like to try to mark up against Reece Robinson and fellas like that? And, do you think you got them and next minute they're just going past you? Has anyone tried to get him?
Reece is elusively fast and strong. Like
And
he's a smaller body, but he's elusively fast. And
Because it looks easy on the sideline.
Coming at tired defenders, that's tough. But I want to get the three. Who's the
Sorry,
three?
Red.
See, I know what you're doing here. I know, because if I name three, then there's 50 other people that are going to be filthy that I didn't name them, and then we'll turn up this year and I'll have half a team.
Well,
I watch Walgett and Joel Thompson is the one that obviously your brother Matt. You need that smart half. You need someone who's going to steer the team around, and he's the brains behind a lot of things for a long time, Matty, and his kicking games.
How'd he go past
up there
Benny
with the
Barber?
best.
I know. I mean, and that's one of the things.
Actually, it is pretty hard.
I know. But if I'm going to say, like, I'd have to have Matt and Trent would have to be there, not only because they're my brothers, but Matt steered the ship around for us for so long. Trenny led our defensive line for however long. I still remember some of our greatest games. I remember playing Wollumban down on field 2 at Leichhardt. And it was the year that they come down and there was all this talk about every player was a Q Cup player, and they said they were coming down to dominate the New South Wales knockout and coming to win it, because they'd won a few years as the Southern Dingoes up in the QMC. Yes. And they come down, there was all this chat that they were going to smash New South Wales and get the win. And we went into that game with that attitude that if we empty our tank in this game, who cares? We've got a point to prove. I remember Trenny leading the defensive line. I've never heard a more sickening sound than every time that someone ran at Trent, and the fucking whack that you would hear, and you'd hear the groan, you'd hear the insides of them that go out.
The whack, right? You got to put the whack in there.
We put the whack
that
straight
surprised
indoor.
me, actually, because
he
George
straight indoor. But that sound, I'll never forget that. That was one of my most memorable games, the sound of Trent whacking these fellas.
Ripping them out.
Every time they ripped in. And it got to the point where their forwards didn't want to come back on the field. They were rotating out, and they were bringing wingers into the middle because they were rotating out. They didn't want to run because every time he'd just smack them.
He hit him hard that game, Joe. I mean, they were running at him, and next minute they're putting their hands up, and I seen them coming off the sideline. They're holding themselves, Trenny's just knocked the snot straight out of him, and I'm like, come on, boys, who's next? And then the other fellas are getting under him, and she was all over.
It was a mad game. We got the win in that one, and then we turned around. We were buggered. Turned around 30 minutes later. We lost to Combined Countries by 2 points or something.
Yeah. They get sides.
It was a draw.
No, it was a draw. Sorry, we lost on a draw.
They do that to sides, Combined Countries. They win a lot of games by draws. A lot of
buggy side the country. Knocked them out a few times.
Well, I liked them in the side, liked them in the knockout, because there was a few times when you had to play against, there was Yowies in the draw or Newcastle All Blacks. I'm thinking if Combined Countries gets over this side, they're gonna loosen up a bit of the draw and make it easier for us when we come through.
Yeah. One player I really admired playing for Walgett, and I first watched him, I think, was at that arm rail knocker, George Kepper. For a fullback, the amount of work he did was unbelievable. And then he ended up becoming a back rower in the team, and still got that same thing. Toughness.
But he plays like a roving fullback anyway. Even when he's in at lock, same thing. It's just high work rate, high carries.
He was like a fullback playing lock, second row, wasn't he? You'd get in and do as many hit-ups.
So hard, like trying to defend against him in the middle. Like he's been with us, 15 years, 20 years?
We have to wrap him up now.
2007 or something?
We have to wrap him up between games now. We get him all padded up, compression, get eyes on him. We say, you just stay out this game, or if we need you for 2 minutes, just go on. But we say
one thing he's great at is recovery.
But he's got the mind. His mind. He's so tough.
What's in the future, Dill? What are we looking at? Going to Bathurst, we're all excited about it, and I know you're talking it up out there.
Just might have to sleep at home, but drive out. There's no accommodation. Seen that early on.
I've got a couple of brothers and sisters there.
Oh, yeah.
I won't let you go.
He's local fella.
Tom's got 6 houses in Bathurst if you want a bed.
Take you down the shed at Dad's house.
personally, my last 2 knockouts, I came into one, the one down in Narran, I came in with a torn bicep. I'd played my grand final the week before, actually. So our season dragged on a fair bit, and that's the first year I've gone into a knockout being like, not even keen for this, because we'd only finished the weekend before, lost my grand final. So I came into it with that, and then I ended up doing my groin. Obviously, those fields were crap. I trod in like a pretty much knee-high mud and tore my groin. I think the second day I only played about 10 minutes. And then the next year I was like, I want to get a better one over. Ended up doing my calf in the semis like 5 weeks before the knockout, and I come back and same thing, I only played about 10 minutes in the last knockout. So just going to try and hopefully get my body right and have a big one this year. I'll be with Lapa again. So just trying to...
he's in early.
I always get in early. I'll give my word the year before,
Yeah.
I've been there pretty much. It's usually like a pretty well gimme that I'll be with Lapa, unless, like I said before, there's some sort of memorial side or something from back down home. But always been treated like family there. I have a say in the side there, I have a say in how things run. So it just makes more sense.
Building from last year, bro?
Yeah, we've got a good young squad there. Like a lot of, same thing, had a few 17-year-olds. Pretty much everyone's from there. What I said before, got some family there. So trying to build on that, really. And like we spoke before about players that you sort of want in your side, what they can do. It's for me, like you've always got to have 2 or 3 lads that probably don't do too much on the field, but it's what they do off the field, training, the team morale, getting the boys around, the professionalism. So I'm kind of trying to be that guy now. I know I can't offer as much on the field now, so I'm just trying to be that sort of, level head older fella that can sort of pick the young lads up to sort of play their best. And I know, when I was coming through, having guys like Al Daly and whatnot in my side, it gave me that, ability or the confidence to go out and play.
Showed you how to run a team.
I just knew if I got in shit or whatever, that they were going to be right there behind me.
You feel like you went from that 7-year-old, now you're that older player who's running the show now and guiding all these young fellas around, how quick it goes. And you look around sometimes, you go, I remember our first couple of knockouts for George, and I remember talking about that one. I go back to the now, and we looked around, and only 2 fellas that were in the side. There were 3 fellas in the team. They were in their 30s, and I think one was in their 40s. The rest was all 20, 21, George 17. And then we're like, well, we're the mainstay now. We've got to be the ones to bring the young fellas through. So it goes quick. And then I would tell you, to lead the team, you've got to pay attention to them people in front of you.
And I like what Dill just tapped on there. It's the off-field professionalism that makes a difference. You ever think, what Moree and Yowies last year, right down to the wire, what was it, right on full time, the Yowies get the try. It's 1%, 5% difference, and it's all the little things like resting up properly, icing between games, massage and preparation. Yeah. That professionalism makes those little bits of difference. And you can see Walgett, with the guys you've got running the team, that WAC team leading the way off the field, it's the difference on the field. And I'm glad you're taking that approach. Because Lapa's got to look at what is it going to take to take that extra couple of steps.
Yeah, we've lost 2 grand finals. I feel like we know how to get there. It's just trying to nail that end. And I think...
What do you reckon it is that you're just missing?
Well,
they had that one wrapped up in
I feel like the first year, these lads just wanted it a bit more than us, I reckon. Probably one little dodgy call that didn't help us as well. Jamie Ingram making
I threw you the intercept and gave you the intercept, mate. Come on.
Oh, yes.
I gave it back to you.
Yeah, he did. We'll take that back, but just shift the momentum. And I feel like the 18 knockout, I feel like that was our rotation. Our rotation hurt us there. We looking back now, not even looking back, even at the time, we had a lot of momentum. We're winning 18-0. A couple of senior lads come off for what I hope would be 2 or 3 minutes. Sometimes you just need that 2 or 3 minutes in the forwards there, and I didn't get back on for 15 odd minutes.
Oh, that's too long.
There was probably a couple of senior boys, same thing. I think, we stuffed up the rotation there, and by the time I got back on, we'd lost all momentum. Been shifted, and Scotty Briggs can win a knockout from there if you've got the momentum. Will Smith was on fire that year, but Scotty just knows how to bring him home. His kicking game, it sunk us. I don't know how many times he's kicked a goal. Even that tribal league, they beat us 6-4 in Dubbo, my side, Scotty's kick, and then they beat us 6-4 in the grand final.
That was a good game.
Again, Scotty's goal kick, and I just wish someone would cut his tea in half or something. But he just nailed it. So that year, I think 2018, was our rotation. So going into 19, again, this is where you talk about experience. And we talk about the lads, 14 to 25. We made sure everyone felt they were important, but everybody else also knew their role. We said that there's going to be hard games. Blokes aren't going to get on.
I feel
and
like
we just said, you happy to be a part of it now or leave? Either way, this is what's going to happen. We've got our side. And yeah, there's just going to be... we won our first game 70-odd-0, so we got all those young lads in there as quick as we could. Had another pretty... next game was actually pretty hard. Ronnie Griffin, Newcastle coach. Yeah, he coached I think they were Newcastle cockatoos as well. But can't remember their name.
Where was it at?
Wanneroo, was it?
Wanneroo?
No, was that
Hunter something? Remember?
Yeah, bagels. No, not bagels. That's
The Macquarie.
it's the indigenous name for cockatoos up that way. So whatever it is, that's who they were. Hunter Waila.
Was it called?
Where were we at?
Waila.
Which venue? Which?
It was that time. It was Hunter Waila. That's what it was. So Ronnie was coaching them, and that was a hard game. We only beat them, I think 6-4 or maybe 6-0.
Smart operator. Right?
Yeah, they just had they had all blokes from the Denton Cup. Denton Cup's probably the strongest comp in New South Wales. The Newcastle comp there. So just having that camaraderie they had through the year. A lot of Koori players and Cessnock and whatever. You could just see that they were just a good side. They were well structured.
Was it a bit of Minda River flavour?
Yeah, they would have Minda River in there, but they were just
different
structured,
name.
just going on a bit.
Because Georgie, you notice, and I do too, from your early days at Walgett, when you would have good players and you would play with passion, to how well organised you are later and when you win and stuff, it makes the biggest difference, your off-field preparation. And I hope a lot of people are watching at home, some of those small towns that are trying to strive to get there, and they're listening to Dill and listen to what you're about to say around the preparation and the professionalism off the field. That's the big difference.
Yeah, and it's I mean, one of the things that we were guilty of at a young age is that we loved going to the knockout for a lot more reasons than footy, So
what were those reasons, George?
We loved to
Chasing Dado Saturday, Sunday night. Is that what you want me to say?
You get to travel around New South Wales. You go to a new town,
I never had a drink.
Socialise with the locals, socialise with all other teams that are there, and the social side of it was so good, especially as a young fella. And you see all these people you've never seen before, and just being out around that, it's hard. I reckon, I can't even remember the year that it was when we finally put our foot down and said, no going out on a Saturday night, because it's hard not to go for a look.
Probably
even if you're not even drinking, just to go for a look and the after party, it's a vibe. It's a vibe, and it's hard not to get caught in it.
I feel like these days at the knockout, you don't have time to go anywhere. I mean, you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by the time you get home, you're trying to get a feed in, put in the bed, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but we're also older too, and we're doing things right there. Because, when you say you're getting up at 5, we're getting up early. We've got Tom or whoever, we've got people cooking breakfast for everyone. We're getting down to the ground early. We've got our tent set up. We've got Tank and Roddy.
John.
They're rubbing everyone's, getting the emu oil into everyone's cars.
Tank with his little work boots on, he makes me weak.
We've got people around us that are, and it's all family that are around us that have come along for the journey and helping us get prepared. And that's the difference, is that, and then we finish a game straight away, gadget will be on to everyone, cool down, go through the process, stay out of the sun, rest up in the shade, get back to the hotel and or get back to wherever and rest up.
I think Saturday's the day to stay on the hardest, because you're fresh, you're coming in, you're keen. It's only the one game, so we're pretty strict with it. We're there. If we play at 9:30, we get strapped and whatnot at a hotel. And we aim to get there at 8:30, so we're game bang straight on the bus after the game. We're out of there, so there's no mucking around.
See in the sun.
And then with the Sunday, I feel like the Sunday takes care of itself. If again, you still got to do it right, but you're so buggered by the end of each game, you don't even want to go muck around. You have your tent set up and you got your shade, you got your drinks. You're making sure it all goes out. I feel like Saturday's the hardest to stay on top of things because it's only the one game, and when you do have a few young fellas,
and you got that energy around today, because that Saturday knockout energy is mad. Everyone's all excited.
I reckon the Saturday energy, the best energy is when you're sitting in that tent, putting your shorts and socks on, and you're looking around, you can smell the deep heat, and boys are all excited, and you're looking over the whole cousin. What are you wearing now? Has he got the 6 on? Or, oh, mate, got the number 9. Oh, did he get his own way, did he? But all that sort of stuff, that just makes me think about, my time at the knockout, and that was my favourite part, putting the gear on together with all your brothers. And I don't think nothing can beat that moment before you get out there, because... yeah, it's that preparation, and then it's happening.
Yeah, and you're right. And I have this saying that for when you finish that first round Saturday game, what you do between now and tomorrow is going to determine whether or not we win this knockout or how far we go. Yeah. I reckon it's the most important thing is to look after yourself. But I love that too, because the other thing that I love around knockout is when you see them young kids walk in, or a kid who's from your town but hasn't come back to play for you and he's coming back for the first time, is the excitement of his family and the photos that they take when they're getting their first jersey or they're playing for their mums or their dad's community for the first time. And it's just real pride, eh? You see that real sense of, look how excited they all are, look how proud they all are, and stuff like that. You know, that's one of the things I love. And you see that in every team. It's not just, no team does it better than anyone else. It's just, everyone's got that pride.
And you know what? It doesn't end. Like last year we had that with Troyden Dixon, our cousin from over at Burke, and it was the first year that he got to play with us for WAC. Our Auntie Marge passed away the year before, and he said that he wanted to come and have one run because Auntie Marge always stuck solid by us. When Burke versus WAC, she'd always sit on WAC side with us, and so to get to play with him for the first time, same thing. And then all of our other cousins come around, and it was just a really good feeling. It's that same feeling that you're talking about when you get someone new coming to the team that should have been there for a while.
Special.
It's exciting for them because those young kids could be living in Newcastle and going to one of the schools there. Then the old fellas come from Armidale and Walgett and that. And the next minute they're walking in with him and he's looking around. I don't know many fellas here, and then he gets in, and then we start watching him play. And you go, well, he's inspired me now. Let's keep up with this fella because he's a lot better than what we thought he was. And it just makes it all come together.
So how's the side looking this year? There's always a lot of talk around Lapa coming up to knockout time. Who have you got, who you don't got?
Yeah.
How are you going to look this year?
Well, we're just sort of trying to stay loyal to the lads that have been there. Each year there's always one or two lads that couldn't make it the year before. Wiley, we spoke of Wiley earlier, he couldn't make it last year. He's working in the mines now, so on one of his swings over there. So I feel like there'll be a couple of young lads that blooded last year will be there again. There's a couple of boys that will probably come back that were there. So like Ryan James, I think he's going to come back. Leave
him on the sideline.
He had a year of,
He's good.
Sydney All Blacks. I nearly told him to never play with us again. So it's good to have a good, come knockout time, I want him there. But no, I think there's probably a couple of old lads. I think they'll make the call this year. I don't know for sure, but I know that they were talking about last year being there last year. Old Chappie and Alpow. So I don't know for sure. And again, they don't bring a whole lot to the field these days, but just having them there, blokes like me, having them there, it's massive, And again, sometimes when we talk about politics before, people that don't play, they don't know that sort of things. They're going, he's too old, he's washed up. And they just don't know what they do to the players. It's a different ball game, man. It's hard to explain to people who either have never stepped foot in the field or haven't played for a long time that having guys like that on your team, it lifts you, Always lifts you. So, I don't know. I think there'll be probably a couple of older boys that'll pull the pin, and I think pretty well similar side. So,
well, one thing you won't be lacking is young fellas. One thing, and Dino, you might know a few of these fellas. The 17s and 15s for Lapa are always, if they're not in that final in the 17s, they're winning it or they're just missing out on the semi. Last year, there were some kids in that team that were absolute freaks, and you might know a few of them coming through.
Yeah, they were dominant. Young Lester there, Saxon Lester. He's an amazing little player. Like they got some speed. Dwayne Lyons. There's a good generation of young players coming through there at Lapa, and I think that it's always been the case. They always seem to have 17, 18-year-olds in their team. It's been a long time. They always got these talented juniors, and I think that leadership, Dill, what you're talking about is the key to it, is finding that little bit of leadership. I think Wiley brings a little bit more attack to the side on the last day, which you'll need. Yeah. We had Richie Williams. Can you get him out? He wouldn't be too old.
He hasn't played for 5 or 6 years.
Hasn't played. He's had injury, he has a few injuries.
Tore his Achilles, and it had a bit of trouble with the recovery, and it just stuffed him. But he would have been definitely an asset. He would have been with us for the South Coast that year.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of attack was probably what was missing on that last day there for you.
Just
like
the game breaker.
Blakey Tough come late. Tallis
They're cold. They're cold.
We were playing. We just sort of went, here you go, on the day.
You can't get in there. You can't get in there and do that.
Come up against a pretty stacked side. It was...
I reckon missing you in the forward pack though too. For that game.
You would have made a difference.
I played 2 minutes.
Yeah,
so played come on.
Whereas the impact that you would usually have in the forwards open up for them backs that they had That would have been.
So it sounds like the hunger's there, Dill.
For me?
For you and for the Lapa community. They want to.
Like I said, my last 2 years have been rubbish. I've played probably 15 minutes all up. So for me, it's I want to have my biggest year coming into this year. I want to make sure I'm right.
Gee, that's
felt like something that Matt said George said last week about when Matt goes, "Come on, George, another run," and George is going, "I'm fucked. I can't do it, but I'll just go again just because my brother said." And then if Dylan's on the field, he makes that 12 other blokes. They lift it. And
same thing. Like I know I don't offer a whole lot now, but I
Yes,
didn't even want to play it all last year. I was saying like,
you offer a lot.
It's no good, and the boys are pulling me to the side and they're
He
going,
offers a lot.
"No, mate, like, we just need you there. You know, the young lads see you with your jersey on. Even if you're not playing, just come over to the warm up." And I'm like, "Yeah, all good."
I think them fellas like yourself, and I don't know about the nicknames you was talking about, but them people, but I've seen like old Quinton Silver and them fellas getting around.
Chappy, yeah.
Well, they epitomise what the team's about.
100%.
You know, they get around fellas. You've got your players who will pass and played, and they just walk around. You have a yarn, one yarn, that little young fellow, he might be that little bit psyched out of playing against a tough side, like when we played against Sab last year or whatever they're called. But you turn them on mentally. And you can just give them that belief, and then you start hitting them up the ribs and getting them psyched up, you know. Those little moments in the knockout, they step up.
Well, right, there's always a moment, and we talked about this before on the podcast, but there's always a moment when you don't want to keep going.
Yeah.
You don't want to. Your team's starting to go, well, we've had enough, or I can't keep pushing on it. And that's when your leaders will drag you through it, push you through it. They'll steer you through it somehow, and that's the ingredient that we talked about before, that you need that leader that's going to step up and go, we're getting through this and we're going to the next game, we're going to win it.
I remember in the 2014 grand final, Peter Jensen had got knocked out a few games earlier in one of the worst high tackles I'd ever seen in the knockout. Knocked him out cold, like he was out. And then that was on the Sunday.
Last game
on the Sunday. On the Monday, we got through our semi, got through to the grand final, and we were sort of down and out. Who did we play in that grand final?
NAB.
We played NAB, and we were looking for energy. Trenny was injured. I was looking around for Trenny to take carries all day. He was off, and our 4-pack was wrecked.
First run.
PJ comes on from nowhere after being like knocked out, the worst I'd seen the day before. Comes on from nowhere, roaring around. You know how he roars around on the field, roaring around, ordering the ball. Took this mad hit up, bang, straight into him, played the ball. Someone took a run, he got up, took another run. He took 3 hit-ups in a set, just charging onto it. And that was the inspiration that we needed. When we were down and out, that's what picked us up. He ended up going off and, you know, resting like he should have. But that moment is what picked us up and turned it around for our forwards.
Goosebumps.
One percenters.
I know what it can do.
That's a 1%er. It's a big 1%er.
A big 1%.
You know what I mean?
Didn't he make his mark, PJ Jensen? I know he was in that Memorial team. He was the most dominant player in a knockout. I hate to say it because I was wanting to play him, but he just dominated the knockouts. I remember everyone just looking, going, how good is this fella? We didn't really know much about him, and then he come onto the scene.
One of the greatest front rowers in knockout history, definitely.
I remember him playing for that Memorial side. Do you remember the way he was running into them fellas? He was running head first, like bang. And I like anyone that's tough like that.
And George, you would have been. We all wanted to kill him, didn't we? We were all like, geez, I hope I play him because I want to take him on. But he was that dominant.
You couldn't get under him. He was just run like that, like hard.
He was good. He in that side, in a team full of stars, he was a little bit above everyone else what they were doing at that time.
A bit crazy too.
Yeah, he was good. He was fit, and he just killed knockouts over those years. He's one of the memorable players.
No, there's a few of them out there.
Well, talking about memories, let's go for Tuck's blast from the past. Tuck, what have you got for us this week?
Oh, I remember. I keep going back to that Narwhal. I love that Narwhal knockout because I think we were about 22. What year would have that been? 2001. Yeah. So we come up, got there. We had no one. We had about 15 players. We raked up 6 from the crowd, and we played against Emus. And I said it last week, ended up blasting the first half winning. But the second game we played against Southwest Metro, and Matt had to go home back to Sydney to play the grand final for reserve grade St George. And we're playing that game. We're sort of down and out about, I don't know, must have been about 16-4 or something. Jace Thorne broke his arm, and we thought we need to fight another 5'8" because Matt's gone, Jace is out, and then we just need to be an inspiration. So we sort of hung in there. They kicked this ball through the in goal. Desi Crawford scooched up right on the edge of the dead ball line, and he runs around the hole, like 3 or 4 plays, gets out and he makes this break all the way down the sideline. He gets to the halfway line and then finally Tuck Simpson is there backing him up on the inside and we score under the post and next minute it was a bit like the Peter Jensen. We just ran down, cuddled him, we got up and I'm getting nervous right now. We just went on with it after that. We sunk and we scored another 2 or 3 tries. I thought there was only 5 minutes left, but that was one of the knockout moments for me.
Yeah, that was one of the great escapes, that one. From our dead ball line.
We all talk about it.
Away, or in the distance.
Desi Crawford. He loves that sideline. He cruised around, but this time he never got dragged out. And Tuck was pretty fast back then. Tuck was doing that a couple of games later.
There's been some nice length of the field tries over the years, eh? That Scotty Laurie one off the kickoff.
Well, he talking about comebacks, and that was one of the memorable comebacks. You and Monaro and Scotty Laurie. Old Scotty, only Scotty could come up with a grubber kickoff to a kickoff.
He was talking like he was playing in the backyard. Eh?
How brilliant was Scotty at that knockout, though? Everywhere he made his mark on that, everyone that knockout. 100%. You know, I watched that from England. I did. I was watching I was actually in Italy. I was in Italy with Brendan Williams.
Flash,
and we were watching it.
So it's the same weather as England that weekend too.
You reckon?
It was bad.
I was spewing, but watching it with Brendan Williams in Italy, and we saw Scotty Laurie do that. I was just like, I couldn't believe it.
She's over the knockout, they reckon, and Joey Williams is saying, you'd never know. Next to me, before he got through the seconds, old mate scored.
I think Morey put the hat on the hook.
They had the knockout that year, Morey.
That was a year.
Them and Minder would have been a good one, but Morey, I feel like that was the time they all split. They still had a good side.
The impact that Aaron had on those 2 tries there, like you spoke of earlier, was
incredible,
freakish. So.
But they played the Black Trackers the year after. We sunk them second round.
Oh, no.
Yeah. My big team.
Coach or player?
I was a coach. I was the coach. But to be honest, Richie Williams and Briley, they didn't play.
Yeah.
But
you got many big memorable moments still?
That first knockout, obviously, probably my most memorable. Besides winning it, it was just the experience. You know, it was up at Kingscliff. We stayed on the Gold Coast, so. Arthur and Jay Little were my roomies. I think they chucked me, obviously, being a young fella, in with the 2 senior boys. And, just learned a lot from them that weekend. And, it was just a massive weekend. I just couldn't believe how it was. You know, I was pretty fortunate to make the Monday. But then it's not till you go on a few years and you realise it's how fortunate you actually are, you know. But then, my first one back, 2018, made the Monday again and lost another grand final with Lapa. And then the next year, 2019, finally won one. So I've been pretty fortunate. I've only not made the Monday once. Twice.
Monday.
No, and that you won it. 2009, I think we got beat by Minder in the semis. And they played Jews on the last game on the Sunday. They knocked us off. So I've had some pretty good experiences in the knockout. The year we won it, probably 60 or 70% of our team had never gone past the Saturday. So we were going there and they were like, talking about it. And I was just like, because at the time I just wasn't even talking about the no one. I was like, I've never not made a Monday. And they're like, and I was like, fuck, I hope I didn't just jinx it. And then, we ended up obviously going through. So it was, pretty fortunate. But that 2019 knockout, it's hard to sort of put into words how it felt. And I think I experienced it as a young fella, and I would have been stoked if we won. But to lose a couple and then be a bit later on in my years, retired from the NRL now, it was massive. I can't explain how good it was. It was a better feeling than making my NRL debut. Like the feeling I got, I just felt like
it's with your people.
Yeah, having people on my back and the team on my back, and it was just it was an unreal experience.
I bet you're getting goosebumps. You've been around.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that South Coast, it was special. And the first time the South Coast, a team from that area,
I've been talking about it for years. South Coast, North Coast.
Riverina is another area that still probably hasn't won. That still hasn't won the knockout. And it was like, when is the South Coast team going to pull together? And like you said, there's a lot of politics. It's very complicated down there.
Talented footballers.
So it's one of them magic things that you put it all together on one weekend. It was probably for a very special person.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the thing. Sadly, it was for a sad reason, but it was it obviously worked out well in the end. But then look, we lasted 1 year, and then again politics just ruined that. So
I remember that knockout too. There was that one when he's won it. There was a little moment there when he's nearly could have lost it.
Semis?
Yeah, I think it might have been the quarter final when he was playing against Cody.
Oh, yeah, the quarters.
That's one of the great games. That's one of the great games.
Team, they kicked the ball and it landed right on the dead ball line, and he scooped. Someone landed on it, and then one of the boys from his side went bang, put him over the line. Penalty. You get the penalty kick, 2 tackles later. Garvey sets up a try on the inside, and you win.
It was.
That moment.
That game.
How many times that happened in knockout?
That game was like that was the hardest knockout game I've played in. So when you spoke before about when you just want to give up, I was like, I was gone. So we played Gaduga the game before, and there was actually
That was good too.
there was a bit of a stink in the game, and then
Yum.
one of the trainers threw a bloody water bottle at the referee. So he's walked off mid-game. There's still time on the clock. We're like, what's going on here? It took about an hour to get a senior ref over and work out if we're going to continue the game. We ended up finishing the game, and then we walked off the field, and I still remember I said to the trainer, right, what field are we on next? And what time? He goes, 16 minutes on field 5. And we were like, what? Like we had to literally grab our stuff, walk over to 16. I remember he was getting us out to warm up, and I just went, bro, we ain't warming up, man. We're just going straight on the field. We had literally had 16 minutes, so we went over, and halfway through that game, I was playing front row, so I was playing lock for that tournament, and Riggs went down with cramp. I was just about to go off. I was gone. I was just, third game of the day, hot as, I'm in the middle, just about to go off, and then young Regan Carr went down with cramp in the calf. As I'm hand up, they're going, you've got to play in the halves. And I'm like, so I've ended up playing that whole game. I finished it off in the halves, and like I said, we only just won on the bell there. They threw everything at us, and they were a good side. And like I said, I spoke of before, Jay, if he didn't have him that side, I think he scored 1, maybe 2, but he saved about 3. So there was a couple of times a couple of their young fellas broke through the middle, and I'm looking back going, oh no, and Jay would just come flying out of somewhere and just like smack someone, and then I was like, oh wow, getting back on side. So probably saved, he 100% saved that game and saved the knockout for us, really.
I remember that knockout because I didn't play, and I was talking about retirement. And the games that were on, I remember watching Burke go up against Bunjalung in a great game. And then I'll go over the next field and there was another. And I just went, I'm never playing again. This is too much fun. And the games were that good. I couldn't get over it. There was that many good sides that met each other on that Sunday. And then obviously the South Coast coming through against, and that Griffith team was good. It was either going to be the first time the Riverina won it or the first time the South Coast won it. And these boys did well because that was a good Griffith team too. Yeah, Nico Hines in the side.
I think they're similar. They're
solid every year.
Game the Sunday, they had their hard game the Monday morning. I think that helped us a lot. But like I said, I'm not taking away anything from them. But if you were around our huddle and you could hear our chat and. We just wanted it.
Nothing was going to be.
Yeah, nothing. That was our knockout.
You had the right mix probably too with the old fellas, young fellas, hungry.
Big muscly forwards. I remember the big muscly forwards.
Jaden Sullivan.
Everyone kept telling the yarns, saying, "Yeah, you seen the South Coast? They got all them big muscly fellas."
Yeah. So he was a young 18-year-old. But yeah, look, there's big Dan in the middle. My cousin Dan Dees was coming off the bench, and then Jolly Tubbs up front. We did have a
That's a great side deal. And
really
it must frustrate you being a proud South Coast man because you've always been so proud of it that you've put all them ingredients in together and they work brilliantly. The Deeves boys who are tough and experienced and then you had the young guns in Jade Anderson. Garvey was in his prime. There's you with the experience. Wello with a reason to play, with his experience too. It's the magical ingredients. You just think, why can't the South Coast do that every year? And
man, when you win it, it makes it even sadder because you obviously know you win a knockout. It's no secret. You get a bit of money out of it. If you run the next year properly, you can make some more money out of it. So
set it up forever.
The saddest thing for me was the generations. My son's 11 this year. I would have loved to have had him coming through playing with the South Coast Black Cockatoos and represent the same club your dad won the first ever South Coast knockout for. So it's just sad. It's just generations miss out, and the people that can't put the egos in their back pocket and can't delegate the right people in the right places, or treat it like a business instead of a club or a community. That's where they went wrong.
Listen to the administrators.
Yeah, man. You have self-appointed committee members, and then you make it a business and not make it a community thing where people can't have a say. It's just like that doesn't work. It showed more than half of us left before we. Everyone wants to go back to back. I lasted about 6 weeks after knockout before I pulled the pin and. I knew it just wasn't going to go right, and I didn't want to be a part of it.
I've seen the same thing happen with Armado and Nolan. The winning the knockout was the worst thing that could happen. It tore the community apart, the team apart, and it took years for us to get our team back together. Probably still not recovered, Georgie, you have been good at this, winning the knockout and then keeping people together, keeping people happy. What's the secrets, brother?
Look, I don't know. I think it comes down to the people that we've got around, to be honest. And you know everyone that we've got around. Between Jeffo, Mark, and all the other boys. Ted's the chair.
Ted's the one that pulls the geese out of secret.
Well, he can bring it. He can bring the spirit together. Me and him will get in there, and what happens is he bags the crap out of me. Everyone laughs and they get happy. So that's besides football, but it does bring them together.
That's one of our secrets. Keep that one up the sleeve. That's one of our secrets.
So you are the man that brings the side together, keeps everyone happy. What's the role there?
I just walk around.
It's important.
I don't know if these fellas know, but I'll walk around to nearly every player. And when people turn up here, like if they've flown in from Queensland or we've got keppers and that, or a couple of shy fellas, I go, come on, bud, come and sit over here next to me. And I bring them in, and these fellas can't do all that. They're already still running knockout 12 o'clock at night. So I try to just be that person who can just see those little moments where they need to be in a part of the team from the word go. So I bring them over, sit them in the chair, talk to them, maybe drive them to the football next day and get them comfortable, you know. And
because you have a look at the sides, like Mindaribba had their success there, but then they hadn't been back to a knockout for a long time. Narwhan successful, then split. You had the Narwhan Old Boys and the Narwhan. You know, it's happened to a lot of teams. The South Coast is a very sad one that happened there for, to see that side do so well. And then in the next year, they couldn't even get the team back there together. It split the community.
I think one thing that we've been lucky with too is our old fellas have played on really old too and given time for our young blokes to come through. Like you look now, we've got Tyson and Cody coming through. We've got Latrell Sigwalt. We've got a lot of our young fellas that have been able to come through while our old fellas are still stuck around. You know, your Willies, Matts, you know, even us still putting on the boots. Georgie Kepper's old.
That obviously
Benny
helps.
Barber's playing old. You know?
That obviously helps massively, but it's still behind the scenes.
It's the community.
We didn't even, like I said, I lasted 6 weeks, so we didn't even get to the next year for the old boys to hang around. It wasn't the players, you know. You guys are doing it right on and off the field. That's the difference. And you speak to anyone that's been with WAC, you're treated like a family, you know, from the start. I've never heard anyone that's played for WAC say a bad word about WAC. And that's all year round. That's not just the knockout weekend. Some teams are knockout specialists. You don't hear from anyone, and then a week out for the knockout, they want to talk to you. You know, it's these guys obviously do it on and off the field, because on the field we had no dramas with South Coast. It was off the field, behind the scenes, where it just was so wrong.
Well, it's not just a game to us though too. It's a whole week. It's an experience. Like that's what I mean. If we get knocked out the first game, we're still going to have a great weekend together. We're still going to enjoy ourselves, have a good time. Everyone's family's there, so it'll be good. Look, I know that we could keep talking all day again, get caught in these yarns pretty quick. Dillo, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you giving us your time and sharing some of them South Coast and Lapa stories and secrets. And we look forward to seeing your success through this year and going on. But, yeah, really appreciate it. Look, everyone tuning in, make sure you follow us, like, comment, share. Come on, share a yarn yourself. We're on Facebook, Instagram,
Send me a
TikTok.
message.
Send Tom a message, Tommy Kennedy on whatever.
Tommy Tucker.
The Koori Knockout on all them platforms. Make sure you follow us, tune in, and we'll keep them yarns coming. If you want to contribute anything, feel free to interact on social media. We'll all be there. Thanks again, boys, for today, and we'll see you again soon.
Loved it.